Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. In this video we are going to take a look at how the AGL LR Super Saiyan Future Gohan and the Teen Trunks or the Trunks Youth unit do in DBZ Dokkan Battle. So it's going to be somewhat interesting to see how they do in the Gods of Epic Destruction event. This is the Epic Transcendent Gods of Destruction event, and it's a pretty good one. It's obviously against Imene. It's pretty decent overall. It's a nice measure of strength, although I wouldn't say it's the absolute hardest stage. I would just say it's probably a good mixture of difficulty, so it's something you can definitely do or challenge or take on with a decent team, but it is something, you know, that's pretty decent overall. Like, it's a good measure of difficulty of the unit. So here we obviously have an item used. You could see that they tanked relatively well with an item. Nothing too crazy, but still pretty decent overall. And their damage was also pretty decent as well. Obviously not the absolute perfect setup for them, but it was pretty decent display overall. Something that's fairly stock standard. So for me, a solid beginning first turn from them. In terms of the Epic Gods of Destruction event, it is pretty challenging. Obviously most new players won't be able to do this. It is part of the end game content of Dokkan, and so it's good to measure how these units perform in these kind of events. In terms of their passive, obviously as we've mentioned before, in their base form they're more a second slot unit, and if you want to see a breakdown of how they function and how best to utilize them, you can watch my video, which you'll see pop up roughly about now. And you can click on that, and I do go into a bit more detail about how to effectively utilize them, and also we discuss their performances and how they do and how they perform. My unit is a 55% unit, so it is the bare minimum of the unit. They will benefit from a whole bunch of things, using things like dupes, giving them gear, all those sort of things will improve their performance. Link level wise, they do gain a little bit from link levels, but we're not too concerned about that. We're going to exchange them now, and this is actually a very, very good mechanic to utilize because it's going to allow us to regain some health, but also gives us the much tankier version, which is the Gohan. And now the Gohan has, after he revives, 58% defense and 58% damage reduction, which is very, very good. So both of those together will be pretty helpful. And will be able to help us overall just in terms of getting everything done and being a much tankier unit for this level of event. It's not always so straightforward, but it is relatively defense is probably the way to go. Obviously damage does help you in the Epic Gods of Destruction event, because the more damage you have, the quicker you complete the event and the less chance you have of dying. But here we're going to get the revive skill activated, which is going to help us quite a bit, and then we're going to be able to just kind of finish everything up, which is also fantastic. So yeah, overall pretty happy with the mechanics of the unit. I think they do help out a lot. I think they do a lot of good work, which is great. Of course, I think as a unit they bring a lot to the table. Defensively, obviously in their base mode, great in the second slot, whereas now we can shift that Gohan into the first slot, which is going to also be way more helpful for us overall. So yeah, pretty cool, pretty awesome unit overall, and yeah, I'm really happy with the performance so far. I think the damage could be a little bit better, but obviously that is down to links and things like that. Also orbs are going to affect how this unit performs. If you manage to get some good setup with them with the orbs, you're going to get the good damage and the good defense all the time. Once they're in the Gohan form, it's a lot more simpler. The orbs will just determine an additional super attack, won't be necessary to determine anything else. So that's pretty solid, which is great. We don't really always want to be trying to push, you know, the boundaries of things and trying to absolutely need the perfect setup every single time. We don't want to have to pull 10 AGL orbs. So we'll see how Gohan tanks now. This is going to be Gohan with an item, so chances are we're going to take absolutely no damage. Remember that damage reduction from items is additive to the damage reduction that units have. So Gohan will have an 88% damage reduction in total, which is more than enough just in general. The defense does look low, but Gohan will probably be perfectly fine. Just, yeah, based off of what I've seen and the way the passive works and everything, he will be more than fine. I think obviously also it's just important to bear in mind that they are currently under double 120% leads, which is, you know, not necessarily the most impressive amount of leader skill. You can actually run a decent connected hope team with 2 AGL Gohan and Trunks units for this event, which is something we may look at in future because it's actually a very, very powerful team that does a lot of good work. So overall, pretty solid performance so far by them. Gohan obviously took no damage this turn and did some decent damage as well. The nice thing about him is he obviously has, you know, that 258% attack, which is always pretty damn good, and it's something that we can, you know, I don't want to say like rely on to completely devastate our enemy, but just at 55% it does a tremendous amount of damage and really sets us up for some really solid, you know, damage results and some good attack numbers, which is always great. So yeah, so far I'm really impressed. I'm really happy with how they're doing. I think they're doing exceptional. I think the defense is definitely there at 55% for the event. They do cap out, so if you are running them at 55%, maybe throw on a 500 defense. It will just curve a little bit. It will just lower the curve slightly, but that's really about it. Even then, it's not really necessary to place it on them. I think they do perfectly fine. So I'm actually honestly perfectly fine with how they do. I think at 55% they are a great selection for any of the strength god of destruction events. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with how they're doing overall. Yeah, they are better units. I mean, like, you know, Kale and Caulifla as the LR, they, you know, because they're facing Universal Survival Saga enemies, they generally speaking have quite a large advantage over other units, which is obviously a thing. But just in general, I think they're doing very, very well. And I'm really happy with how they do. We'll see now after Gohan tanks without an item, just how good the unit is overall. But to be honest with you, I can't imagine him taking too much damage. Maybe a little bit on normals, but we're looking at nothing over 120k on a super, which is exactly where you want a unit to be for this event. You just need the ability to really not take spiked damage and just be able to consistently work that damage back with healing on the other units. So 12k, 4.5 million damage though, which is very good. Remember, we are under double 120% leads, so it's not even like we're running around with a high amount of leads or anything. It's not like we're running around with an absolutely like perfect team or anything like that. And yeah, really not that much damage at all. So yeah, really good performance. Honestly, super duper chuffed and really impressed with just how they've been doing and how they're functioning. I think it's really good, and they bring a lot to the table. So yeah, if you want to run them in this event, you more than well can. They just do absolutely everything you need them to do. They don't let you down. They bring a lot to the table, and yeah, they're just a ridiculously solid unit defensively. I personally think that it's best to transform them to give yourself a frontline tank for the events. I think Gohan as a frontline tank is far more usable than them in the second slot. And if you're running double Gohan leads in a connected hope team, you can actually run both of them side by side. But that's going to be it from me, guys. Let me know your thoughts and opinions and comment on anything you saw in the video, or leave a like if you enjoyed it. Otherwise, as always, guys, I will see you in the next one. So until then, take care, stay safe, and for now, bye.